morning and welcome all to the Executive Policy Committee for Tuesday, January 21st, 2025. I want to acknowledge we're on Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Innu, and Dakota peoples, and national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 and Treaty 3 territory. Joined today by Council colleagues, Councillor Santos, Lukes, Duncan, and Berwadi, our interim CEO, Mr. Sherwood Armbruster, and members of our public service and our clerks as well. Entertain a motion at this time then to receive the minutes of the previous meeting. Thank you, Councillor Berwadi, and happy birthday to Councillor Berwadi as well on this fine day. It is moved. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Madam Clerk, are there other procedural motions we need as well?
Yes, a suspension of the rules for the Standing Policy Committee on Finance and Economic Development and the addendum report from the Standing Policy Committee on Community Services. Councillor
Berwadi moves. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And I think, Madam Clerk, do we go into delegations or departmental presentations first?
Delegations first.
Delegations. And Councillor Santos, would you move a motion to suspend the rules to hear Councillor Eadie, please?
So moved.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I think, Madam Clerk, then Councillor Eadie.
Correct. Councillor Eadie is
Morning, Councillor Eadie. Welcome.
Joining us in person with respect to item number 3 from the SPC report on community services.
Oh, to your left, Councillor, to your left. Little, right there. There you go.
Sorry about that. Got the angle wrong. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Santos, for suspending the rules to hear me. I didn't get an opportunity to speak to Report 3, which is a motion that came from Council, written by myself and seconded by Councillor Gilroy.
3, Councillor, on the community services dated January 10th, right?
Community services
About
of
the video cameras?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's
You're
right.
on.
And it was referred from December's council meeting. So, anyway, I didn't get a chance to speak to it at community services. There was therefore be it resolved requesting that the city look at, would be more like what would it cost to start a new video enforcement program related to garbage dumping on properties either owned by the city or private properties. Not related to the dumping on back lanes and right-of-ways, which is also happening. And I would point out, so there's a request from the city, how much do we spend on dealing with abandoned waste in this city? And it's usually in the neighborhoods in Daniel Mac, Point Douglas, and in the Monarski wards. Although it does happen in other wards as well. So essentially, we are spending money, and I really congratulate Solid Waste. They have contracted with somebody who, as reported, there's always the suspect back lanes where there's tons of garbage dumped, and it ends up in our public right-of-way. And that is cleaned up through a contractor. Every week or so, they'll do the back lanes, which are troublesome. However, they won't pick up the garbage until if there are any discarded needles and that sort of stuff needs to be picked up because the contractor won't deal with it. But again, that's dealing with garbage dumped in the public realm. The private property dumping still happens. I know there's at least one property that we ended up owning on Selkirk Avenue where a home burnt down or whatever. Anyway, we hold that piece of land, and property and development, we have to send in an order. And the city, P&D, whoever in that department's responsible, they are ordered to clean it up. They have to pay for it. They have to do it, even though the city had nothing to do with that garbage being dumped there in the first place. We are a victim, just like private property owners. And we do need some kind of enforcement. We do have people with cameras who video cameras and that sort of thing, but because they're on their private, they're not necessarily angled properly to catch, like get the license plate and whatever on a vehicle that stops and dumps garbage into a private property. And actually, some people, if they do, they're still afraid necessarily to file a complaint just in case it comes back on them and whatever. Anyway, but the point is sometimes you can't get the right angle of camera. So since that pilot program quite some years ago, the technology's changed. It's much cheaper. And what I was hoping to see out of this was not just in 180 days come back and say, well, how much money do we spend on bulk waste, which is good, but it's not dealing with the victim. The victim is the property taxpayer. They're paying property taxes. They didn't throw the garbage on their lot. And, you know, I tried moving a motion where we would subsidize them building a fence to help them afford to do that. We have a lot of vacant derelict properties. You know, the underlying problem is money. So, you know, they're still paying their taxes or whatever on these properties, one would hope, not all of them. But the point being is that we should be doing something from bylaw enforcement effort to try to catch the violators so that they will learn that we will catch them, so don't do it. You're going to have to drive down to Brady. Don't dump it on somebody else's property. And essentially, Mayor, I explained this thing to you before. It would be really nice if our depots, say the one on Panet and the one on Pacific, that they might accept like bulk waste or renovation waste, whatever. I also want to point out, so what I'm sad about is they didn't ask for the public service to come back and say, what would it cost to deliver a program like this, which is what I thought was going to happen. And I don't know if you want to amend it to have it do that. I'm not saying to go ahead with it. I'd like to know myself what it would take for us to do this. And as I said, Mayor, I mentioned in the past, the Selkirk Avenue Biz funding through the Community Fund, we are going ahead with a pilot to try to offset any of the dumping onto private property by offering up at the end of the month various bins that are there for a day, and people could take it there because either they can't afford it, they don't have a vehicle, whatever it is, they'll be able to take it there, and so I'm going to fund that. But in the meantime, though, like the Selkirk Avenue Biz and the Community Fund can't handle all this stuff, and I know that at least in those 3 wards, that the dumping onto private property is still happening, and they're victims, and we're going after them. It doesn't make the city look very good. We're ordering them to clean up a mess they never created, and you know, they're paying property taxes. So I'll leave it at that. So if we're not going to help them with the fences, I know the province has a thing where you can get video cameras or whatever and mount them, but sometimes mounting it on your property, you can't get the view that you need. And there are a number of properties where it happens quite often. And usually those properties, private properties where they get dumped, are near busy streets, like McGregor, or Salter, Arlington, for example. Any of those, people haul this stuff and then they take a quick detour, dump it on somebody's property, or they dump it on the public right-of-way, which does happen too, and we are dealing with that. So I appreciate that we're doing that. But I would hope that we would get, what would it cost nowadays to deliver that video camera enforcement on dumping of garbage? Again, the technology is cheaper. I don't know if we have the people power or not. I know that our bylaw enforcement's overwhelmed with a lot of the issues. But hey, even if you had a video, some of these lots where they dump are where you've got rubble already on them and they need to be monitored, or the house is already burnt out. Maybe we'll catch some people trying to break in and set fire to a vacant derelict house as well. There could be some good things come, good things come out of it in the sense that maybe we can prevent some of this stuff as well with the burning of vacant homes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Eadie. Councillor Santos, I think, has a question.
Yeah, so thank you, Councillor Eadie, for coming out and clarifying your motion and your intent. During the meeting, are you aware, I should ask it as you're aware, we did have discussions about what would it cost to deliver the program, more so on the public right-of-way, because that is kind of our jurisdiction. They had mentioned $175,000 a year.
Right. For that's in
Public right-of-way.
Public right away.
Because the private property is a little bit more complicated, and that's why we've moved the motion, the total existing budget for the enforcement piece, because that's bylaw officers that deal with, through the community bylaw enforcement program, that deals with private property. So we were asking them to come back on what those costs would be, because I thought through your motion, it was more encompassed private property.
I did talk to Mr. Yee about it. Now, you got to remember that pilot program, just to be clear, it wasn't necessarily the public right-of-way that they were operating. The city owns pieces of land all over the place where people dump garbage. And so those video cameras were mostly used for those, like, lots, not the back lane, not the front street, not a sidewalk. They were used, for example, between St. John's Avenue and Mountain Avenue, behind Main Street. The city owns a lot right in the middle of two private lots. And there was a lot of dumping happening there, and we did catch people there. That was good. And sometimes they're dumping stuff right beside a bridge where we had cameras set up, and we caught them, right? So, yeah, the public right away, and I know that solid waste right now, rather than video cameras, the garbage shows up on the back lanes. And we're just sending crews down, right?
Yeah.
I think it's costing us more than $135,000 a year to run those, run the contractors' equipment down those back lanes to clean that up. Anyway, so with the private property, yeah, but I'm talking about there's some real chronic ones, as I said, by busy streets. Like, it's happening in many places, but the number of properties where, like, well, I'll give you a great example. Like, Luda's is building a brand-new fence at Aberdeen and the Salter. But what was happening is people drive by and they were dumping their garbage on her lot. You know, you could have cameras, the business could spend this or that, and she is putting up a big fence, and that sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. We'll see how much success she's going to have with that, but it would have been great to try to catch the people who are doing it so that they get the message not to do it somewhere else, even though the victim I just mentioned, Luda's, that the other people who are victims, it costs her a lot of money. And they wouldn't pick up her own garbage bin because they were dumping it all by her bin. And the city service that provided, they say, no, we're not picking it up. So what's she supposed to do it? And she's getting an order to clean it up. like we got to do something to help people, you know, like, I don't know what it is, but these are victims, right? So anyway, so 125, I'm not quite sure that, again, and these are mobile video cameras. We're not talking about something stationary for good or whatever.
They were stationary, yeah.
Yeah, so you can move it to different.
Correct.
Yeah,
Different
right?
locations. They were put it on like hydro poles and attached to hydro poles.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they could move them at different spots in different locations as they consider
Yeah.
hot spots.
Yeah, which is good, because once you start catching somebody in one place, right? So,
Thank you.
yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
All right.
I appreciate that. Have a good day. Okay, I think, Madam Clerk, I think that's our last delegate, so we'll move on then to budget presentations from our departments. So,
Okay.
go ahead.
And just for the record, Kelly Rabeck was registered, but he's not here today, so that's why we're moving on.
Okay.
Our first presentation is the Chief Administrative Office.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor and members of EPC, I'm joined here today with Mr. Randy Bernard, who's our Manager of Finance and Administration for Campus Corporate Finance. Just let him bring up the presentation. While he's bringing that up, I'll take this opportunity to thank Mr. Bernard and the Corporate Finance team for their work over the last 6 months, really going back to internal public service presentations and the work that was done through the summer and through the fall with Budget Working Group. Thank you to the many members of the public service that are here today in the gallery, and those that are watching online, and those that are continue to do their due diligence. It's a team effort. I'd like to thank Randy for his help with putting together today's presentation. I can define it. The organizational and community community support services presentation is being delivered by myself and Mr. Bernard on behalf of the CAO's office, but what that represents is the CAO's office, internal services, including human resources, legal services, corporate security, communications, plus the other divisions of the city that map or report up to the CAO's office, which includes groups like Community Development and Indigenous Relations Division. So with that, we'll move to the first slide. It's there before you. This is the agenda. I know for members of EPC, you'll be familiar with this agenda. It's a template all the standing policy committees have been following. So we'll move into our first slide, which is an overview of some of the highlights from our area. And I've got 4 areas that I'd like to highlight for you, Mr. Mayor, and members of EPC, starting with our community safety team, which is led by Mr. Bob Christmas, who's no stranger to any of us, and Nikki up in the gallery here today. It's really easy to brag about the work of Mr. Christmas and the community safety team, but I know that if Bob were here sitting next to me, he'd be the first to share credit with many other individuals in the community and the entire public service. The vision of the mayor and of council to establish the community safety team in the fall of 2023 and implemented in this last year, 2024, represents a massive undertaking of the public service and of the community to meet a service need in the community, to put together an entire unit from scratch throughout 2024. Just 1 year into its operation, after intensive hiring and training and equipping processes, the community safety team is seeing significant positive impacts in the community, greater reports of safety when using transit in our public spaces, and it's a team that has intervened in literally thousands of interactions in the community, assisting some of our most vulnerable citizens in the city. Of note, most recently, the team was recognized with the Canadian Criminal Justice Association with their only national award for crime and prevention public safety. So in the budget going forward as proposed, we're grateful to the budget working group and as tabled that the proposed new funding represents bringing the team from 26 to 41 FTEs over the next 2 years, and I know the team is determined to continue making a great impact in the community within existing systems and resources. So I'd like to acknowledge the community safety team here as part of our presentation. The next highlight, of course, is Winnipeg 150 programming events. Thank the Mayor and Council for their leadership over the past year. Anyone that has been involved in organizing protocol events or weddings knows it's a significant undertaking behind the scenes. This last year, led on the public service side by Felicia Wiltshire, who's going to be bringing an update, likely the final update on on the 150th anniversary. It's a bittersweet moment where we're bringing to get to an end the significant number of events and activities celebrating the 150th birthday of a city that we all love and have chosen to live within. So thank you for giving us that opportunity. Also from the Office of Public Engagement, just want to note that there was funding in the 2024 budget to conduct a review of the annual citizen satisfaction survey. There was an RFP conducted. Prairie Research Associates was successfully bid on that and conducted a thorough review and included in-person interviews with city departments and members of council to make that process better in future years. That was presented with the final report and recommendations that will be included in the next iteration of the Citizen Satisfaction Survey. The fourth and final area that I'd like to highlight is a corporate security update. Acknowledge Mr. Wade Carrier, who was hired this last year as our campus security lead. We've seen a realignment of duties and a more robust and active presence here on campus. Security, of course, is everyone's responsibility, but we are grateful to Mayor and Council for their support in 2024 that allowed for the creation of that position, and having Mr. Carrier here on site has enhanced our physical security infrastructure. And would also note that there is an additional FTE and modest funding to make improvements to physical upgrades following final consultations and details in the current budget. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Bernard to take us through the next few slides.
Thank you. So this slide here, we start showing some performance measurements, and with our Indigenous Relations Division, we have a performance measurement for number of staff who participate in education awareness opportunities. 2023 saw some addressing of the backlog of training with over 3,000 participants, as well as the mandatory 3-part Journey to Inclusion training. The number represents unique number of staff who completed IRD training. Demand for training remains high, and we have targets of 675 participants per year going forward. For organizational support services, we have the performance measurement to improve workplace safety and health across the organization. And in 2023, we were able to have all departments Safe Work certified. And that continues to be the target for 2025. This slide provides an overview of the 2025 budgets by service. Community Support Service has 56.32 full-time equivalent positions, a mill rate support budget of 11.6 million, a capital budget of 1 million, and no reserves. The departments contributing to this service include the CAO's office, Community Services, Corporate Accounts, and Human Resource Services. Organizational Support Services has 134.95 full-time equivalents, a mill rate support budget of 19.4 million, and no capital budget or reserves. Departments contributing to this service include Human Resource Services, Legal Services, Customer Service and Communications, and CAO's office. Looking at the operating budget for 2025, this slide provides an overview by service, by the combined service of community support and organizational support services. Total revenues of 2.4 million are related to federal revenue grants for Building Safer Communities Fund. That's 1.1 million. Tax sale fees of $800,000 and MPI rebate for operator training of 400,000. Total expenditures of 33.4 million are mostly related to salaries and benefits of 23.7 million, as well as grants for community initiatives and Indigenous relations of 6.7 million. Goods and services includes human resource training, consulting and professional services, external legal services, and translation services. This slide shows the change in the 2025 submission relative to the adopted 2024 budget. Revenue decrease is primarily due to Housing Accelerator Fund being moved to its own reserve. And this is also the primary explanation for the change in expenditures, as well as the increase for net positions and grants. This slide shows the change relative to the last year's multi-year budget submission. Changes, again, are related to the Housing Accelerator funding being moved to reserve, net positions added, and increase to grants. Those net positions added include 6 FTEs for community support team, community safety team, as well as 2 positions for supporting the workforce audit. And increase the grants includes to increase to 2024 levels, including 24/7 safe space.
I thought it was 2. You have 3. Human resources, including support for workforce audit. So is it 3 or 2?
It's 2 FTEs prorated in 2025.
Jump in and speak to that. I believe there was a transfer of FTE from innovation and technology over to human resources, but there are 2 FTEs that are dedicated to workforce management audit, plus the 250,000 for consulting services.
So you recorded it as 3 then, or?
It's 2.
One was transferred and there's 2
Right.
new hires?
Yeah.
So we actually have 3 bodies working on the workforce management audit?
No, there's 2.
2 bodies
Yeah.
plus 250
Yeah.
for, What?
Two dedicated to workforce management audit upgrades, primarily like PeopleSoft upgrades, working at, and some of the reporting. The other transfer was in innovation technology, if I recall, speaking on the fly, but there was a graphic designer position,
Okay.
the print shop, that was moved over to human resources. But that, apologies if that wasn't in the presentation report as clearly as possible. We can provide an update on that as well.
Okay,
Fall.
sure, on the workforce audit, great, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay.
So here we see the total salary budgets and full-time equivalent amounts. Again, net positions added includes 6 FTEs for community safety team, and those are increasing to 15 by 2027. 2 FTEs in legal services. Again, as we mentioned, 3 FTEs are added to human resources. 1 is a transfer from IT, and 2 are prorated to support the workforce management audit, and 1 FTE is prorated for campus safety. These are partially offset by the deletion of a temporary project coordinator and an increase in vacancy management. Salaries and benefits for 2025 are $23.7 million, increasing to $26.8 million in 2027. The FTE and salary amounts include vacancy management of 9.18 FTEs and just over $1 million.
My turn. Thank you.
Any other questions at all?
Randy. I got
Okay, carry on.
the next slide. So this is the operating budget referral. So thank our Chair, Councillor Bawadi, and Budget Working Group working with us in reviewing the 4 here that I'd like to highlight. The summary is as follows. First was service-based budget reporting structure, following the council decision to recommend the public service be directed to review the service-based budget reporting structure. Secondly, there's the seasonal honorariums for major neighborhood cleanup events, and that flows from $46,000 that was supported to solicit seasonal honorariums for major neighborhood cleanups, assisting primarily in the downtown area. And then, of course, there's the community and neighborhood grant funding, which subsequent to the bylaw and council, the bylaw that was passed by council and report back in September, Public Services is working to implement under the leadership of Chris Brenz and the Assembled Evaluation Committee, and there's some of the details before you on the in the presentation. In addition, the 4th one is the General Council of Winnipeg Community Centers funding, grants totaling $1.648 million in 2025, which were adopted in the multi-year budget, representing an increase to GCWCC funding of $42,500 as outlined in clauses A and B on the slide. That's those are the referrals. I'll turn it back to Randy to take us through the last few slides.
So the service has 1 project included in the funded capital submission, and that is the Community Incentive Grant Program, which was established by Council on March 6, 1985. It was designed to encourage nonprofit, community recreation and sport organizations to undertake capital projects, which would result in long-term benefits to the community at large in terms of improved service and facilities. Community committees are the delegated authority to allocate CIGP funding, and the total funding will be allocated equally to each committee/ward, net of operating expenses for 1 full-time equivalent position that is required to coordinate, administer, and support new and existing projects in the program. The program is funded for 2024 to 2030. So the capital budget for this program decreased from the 2024 forecast due to the St. Boniface Ward allocation being redirected to fund the St. Boniface Outdoor Aquatic Facility project. As a result, the CIGP budget for 25 to 27 will be split amongst 14 wards.
The next slide, we have capital budget referrals. There were 2 in 2024, the first being the surplus that was referred. There's an unallocated balance of $31,000 referred to the 2025 multi-year budget update process, and the second was an amendment to the Strategic Infrastructure Basket Funding Report from May the 22nd, 2024, which included a referral of $3.995 million, an annual increase to this Strategic Infrastructure Basket funding. That was referred to 2025 process as well, and the full details of that, of course, are in the budget books on pages 311 to 303 in the supplement.
So subject to council approval, the Housing Accelerator Fund Reserve will be established, and the reserve will help address any timing differences within the Housing Accelerator program. And the primary objectives of the program are to create more supply of housing at an accelerated pace and enhance certainty in the approvals and buildings process, while also supporting other priorities.
That concludes our presentation on behalf of the CAO's office and associated divisions. Are there any questions at this time? We're open to
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any questions at all on this presentation? Okay, great. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you for the presentation.
Next up is innovation and technology.
Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, councilors.
you.
I'm Tyler Gooch, Director of Innovation and Technology. I have with me today Marceli Walczak, our Manager of Asset and Investment Management for the department. They'll be taking us through the presentation with the support of Randy Bernard, our Corporate Controller.
Okay, good morning, Mayor Gillingham and members of the Executive Policy Committee. Today, I'm pleased to present the 2025 preliminary budget for the Innovation and Technology Department, which covers the Innovation, Transformation, and Technology service base. Here's a quick overview of today's presentation. We will start with service highlights and business plan statements, highlighting accomplishments like cybersecurity improvements. Next, we will discuss performance reporting, focusing on one of our key goals. From there, we'll cover the budget highlights and overview, providing a summary of the key figures from the 2025 preliminary budget. We'll then dive into the service-based budget, which includes the operating budget, the capital budget, with highlights of key funded projects and reserve projections, ensuring sustainability. And lastly, Tyler and I will address any questions you may have about our plans or performance. This slide provides an overview of the significant achievements our department has made in 2024, as well as the strategic plans we have for 2025 and beyond. Key achievements in 2024 include the cybersecurity enhancements. This following recommendations from a recent cybersecurity audit, we developed and implemented comprehensive standards to enhance the city's cybersecurity posture. This measure focuses on establishing consistent IT controls, frameworks, ensuring compliance across systems, and shifting to active compliance monitoring. This proactive approach strengthens defenses against threats and against the best practices and aligns with best practices for municipal IT infrastructure. Next, we have the Office 365 citywide migration project, which was also featured on the Continuous Improvement Report in December of 2024. We successfully transitioned all staff to the cloud-based Office 365 platform, ensuring continued use of essential tools like Word, Excel, and SharePoint. This modernization has improved collaboration and operational efficiencies across all departments. Next on the list is the Unified Communication System implementation, which was also featured on the Continuous Improvement Report. This initiative replaced 1,900 legacy phone systems with Microsoft Teams telephony, saving the city $120,000 annually, which is redistributed to departments through reductions in monthly fees. Next was the automated remittance processing, which is the automation of check processing for water and waste, reducing processing time by 62%, and addressing risks associated with manual handling of checks. Future plans for 2025 and beyond include the Citizens Portal, which we are planning to launch in the fourth quarter of 2025. This online platform will act as a one-stop shop for all city services, eliminating the need for residents to manage multiple logins. It will streamline access to services like bill payments, 311 requests, and much more. Some of the key functionalities that I'd like to highlight is, number one, the customer dashboard, a personalized interface that consolidates key information based on the user's address, such as garbage day schedules, know your zone, snow clearing zones, insect control zones, and previously submitted 311 service requests. It will also do the password reduction through a single sign-on for portals like My Utility, simplifying user access. And lastly, service requests, easier submission of service requests linked to addresses, improving efficiency and processing accuracy. Next on the list for future plans is the DMES replacement project, which is said to launch in the third quarter of 2026. It's the modernization of the city's decision-making system, reducing search time by 50%. It will utilize AI tools for the search, which will be interesting, and enhancing the user experience as well. Next on our future list is the computer-assisted mass appraisal system replacement, also known as CAMA. We are focused on implementing a modern CAMA system that will improve efficiency, ensure greater accuracy, and support fair property valuations for residents and businesses. The new system is on track for full implementation by 2027, with key milestones planned to ensure a smooth transition. Item number 4 is the pilot project, the AI pilot projects. These are in response to the mayor's AI challenge. We've initiated pilots to explore AI for chat agents, permit application reviews, invoice processing, and street condition monitoring. These pilots focus on low-risk areas with potential for high returns in efficiency and user experience. Additional continuous improvements not listed on this slide include a recently launched learning management system to improve employee training, and there are a few other ones that I will address in the future slides here.
Are you open to a couple questions at this point?
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. One question I have is that, remind us that Citizen Portal, launching 2025, what month do you plan on launching that, did you say?
It's in the fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter?
Likely late in the year.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Lukes?
Okay, so the automated remittances, reducing check processing time. So that's just for some departments, right? It's not the whole.
Specifically for water and waste.
This is for water and waste? Really? That's great. Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, now DMES. So this is great, the DMES, we funded that. Is there going to be any outreach to users, user groups, to try and get a better handle on what the user groups want to see, like people like me?
Yeah, we're still pretty early in that project, but yeah, we usually do work with work with end users of software to make sure that it's meeting their needs. So yeah, I'll say that there will be that during this project.
Okay, and then you didn't have it on here, but you noted again something about the performance management project, did you say, at the end? Were you doing, was that what I heard? Like you said, after AI, what did you say? You said something else.
Regarding this is for DMES you're still referring to?
Nope, now we're moving on to future plans. You've got AI pilot projects, you talked about that. And what else? You said something else. I thought you were talking about performance management.
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
No.
All right. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
There is a section about performance management, but that's a little bit later on.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay, moving on. Okay, so innovation, transformation, and technology is an enabling service with a mandate to facilitate continuous improvement and innovation for all city services. We focus on systematic positive change for city services and their underlying processes, information, and technology. Much of our work is closely tied to the Our Winnipeg Leadership and Good Governance area, with a focus on data-driven decisions, customer service, and coordinated interdepartmental delivery of city services. This slide focuses on Goal 5, which is to manage information and technology risks to maintain and create public value through the services the city provides. Our specific metric here is the infrastructure condition, which has shifted from a B- to a C+. A C+ grade means we currently have more modern infrastructure than outdated infrastructure, but outdated components are increasing. While some infrastructure has been refreshed, many are approaching the point where action will be needed soon to maintain support and mitigate risks. What we are doing about this, as we move forward, the department is prioritizing key replacement projects like the CAMA system and DMIS replacement and infrastructure upgrades. These initiatives will not only improve functionality, but also help us maintain vendor support and mitigate vulnerabilities. Continued investment in IT infrastructure is critical to avoiding further decline in this measure and ensuring that the city can continue to provide reliable, secure services to the public.
For 2025, the Innovation, Transformation, and Technology Service has 153.88 full-time equivalent positions, mill rate support of 31 million, and a capital budget of 4.4 million. There is a net decrease of 800,000 in its reserves. Here we see the breakdown of the expenditures for the service. Salaries and benefits make up the largest percentage of expenditures at 58% and 18.1 million. Next largest expense for goods and services at 9.6 million is mostly for computer software, cloud service, and data communication. Debt and finance expenses are 5.4 million. And finally, recoveries of 3.8 million includes transfers from other departments for IT support and services, as well as recoveries from capital and other funds. The 2025 budget is $31 million, an increase of $2 million from 2024. The change is a result of increases in salaries and benefits, as well as debt and finance of $1 million and computer software of $700,000. This slide shows the change from last year's multi-budget. Increase in mill rate support is primarily due to an increase in computer software costs, as well as a realignment of service-based costing. In 2027, there is an operating impact of 1.9 million related to the CAMA capital project. The service has 153.88 full-time equivalent positions with salaries and benefits of 18 million. The change to FTE is due to a transfer of positions to human resources and corporate finance. These amounts include vacancy management of 8.12 FTEs and $764,000.
Okay, back to me. This slide summarizes the service-based capital investment plan. The 2025 budget for total innovation, transformation, and technology includes only programs. And the 2025 budget total is $4,404,000. The 2026 through 2030 forecast total is $28,085,000, which brings the total for 6 years to $32,489,000. Speaking specifically to innovation, transformation, and technology service base funding for the programs shown here, these programs have other components from other service bases as well, but we're focusing only on the ITT service base here. So the first program, the Digital Customer Experience Program, an investment of $900,000 for the customer portal, providing a one-stop shop for residents, businesses, and tourists to easily access city services. Next is the Digital Operations Platform Program, an investment of $972,000 in 2030 towards a city project management system. This initiative will deliver a cloud-based project and portfolio management solution designed to streamline project workflows and improve overall project efficiencies, as well as consistent project status reporting. And next in that bucket is an additional $14,137,000 starting in 2026 for an enterprise resource planning system modernization. This is where the performance management would be improved. This program aims to streamline and optimize administrative processes, improve data management, and provide better services to the community while ensuring efficient resource utilization and fiscal responsibility. I just wanted to make one little comment here for context. Our initial implementation of the current PeopleSoft ERP system that we have in-house in the early 2000s cost $25 million. So I expect this to, there to be another ask beyond 2030.
At this time, I think Councilor Lutz has a question maybe on that.
Sure. Okay,
Excuse me.
so just recap the digital customer experience program. I'm all about customer service here, as is everyone. Does this tie into the portal?
Yeah, that's the same program. There was funding in previous years, so this 900,000 is not the full amount. There was previous funding in 2024.
So this is for the portal?
That's correct.
Okay. And then the one below that, the Work and Asset Management Systems Program. So just recap that one again?
Yeah, actually, Marcelo hasn't quite got to that one. Maybe I'll let him continue
Okay.
to speak to
okay,
that one.
Got it.
That's next on my list. Okay, so the Work and Asset Management Systems Program, there's a $3,456,000 starting in 2025 for the design and implementation of a citywide work and asset management system. This program will revolutionize operational management across departments by enhancing asset lifecycle management, maintenance planning, and workforce productivity.
Revolutionize.
Yes.
That's a big word.
It is,
That
yeah.
means a lot. Okay, so I want to have a meeting with you after on that. We'll talk about this further. That sounds very interesting.
Great.
And we're just starting on this one then?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Okay, next on the list is the Technology Infrastructure Program,
Big, like-
$12,797,000 starting in 2025 for various citywide initiatives, fully linked to the ITT service base. This is one of the programs that we have that's 100% ITT service-based. The major projects within this program include the data center sustainment project, which is migrating information infrastructure to third-party data centers to enhance resilience and security, ensuring reliable operation of hosted business applications. Next is the Network Product Evergreen project, which is upgrading network infrastructure to get us ready for that, for the distributed data centers. And the Server Storage Evergreen, which is migrating on-premise applications to cloud infrastructure as a service to maintain the reliability and compatibility of city software applications essential for city business functionality and public services. An additional program not shown on this slide includes $227,000 for the citywide geospatial information systems program. This program seeks to deliver a robust GIS offering, advanced spatial analytics, enhanced visualizations, and real-time data integrations to enable better resource allocation. Okay, this slide shows how ITT projects from the past are being reallocated under new programs. While not all programs are displayed here, the complete list includes 10 programs. This reallocation into clearly defined programs allows us to align projects with strategic goals, streamline resource allocation, and ensure accountability.
So you're reallocating $21 million to new programs. Is that the way I'm understanding it?
We are grouping projects, previously funded projects, under a newly designed program. So we have 10 sort of platform programs, the ones that I've mentioned in the past slides. There are roughly 10 of them. We're allocating funding towards a specific platform enablement. It just makes it much simpler for us.
I don't know what platform enablement means.
It nets out to zero. We've basically taken some separate projects and put them together in common programs. So the infrastructure program's an example where you used to see it as networks and data centers and servers. With the move to cloud, a lot of that is converging. So we brought it all together into one program. It all nets out to zero.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, reserve projections. The purpose of the reserve is to provide financing for the replacement, refurbishing, modification, or upgrading of personal computer hardware and/or software, and to stabilize expenditures, therefore smoothing the effect on the annual budget. Through direct contributions, users contribute an amount to the reserve for computer equipment based upon the latest actual purchase cost for that type of unit. Budgeting balance in the reserve for 2025 year-end is $300,000, and the reserve is used solely to smooth cost year over year where they would otherwise cause variability in our operating needs. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions at all? Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Lukes.
Okay, just wait here. No more questions. I just want to also thank Tyler Gooch, who I think is retiring. Are you moving on, right? Retiring to somewhere else. Anyways, thank you very much for always taking time for me and answering my questions, and anyone here. We really appreciate. We're happy for you, but not happy, right? So, but the IT world is an interesting world. So congratulations and thank you for all you've done at the city.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, and I'll follow up on this last question maybe before you go.
Thank you. I was going to echo that, and those were my comments as well. Thank you so much, Tyler, for all your work and your good work with the City of Winnipeg. We're sorry to see you go, but really glad that some of the work you've started will certainly carry on through future years and make a difference as well. So congratulations to you, Marcelini, on your appointment at this time is to serve in the interim role. We do appreciate you taking on this task, so thank you. Thank you both. Okay, thank you. Number 3, moving on to customer service, correct, and communications, contact center 311. Hello, Felicia, and welcome.
Good morning. Randy, you're good? Okay, so our agenda for this presentation, similar to all the rest, we're going to go through the service highlights, performance reporting, the budget highlight and overview, the service-based operating and capital budget, and then we'll open it up for questions. So on the first page is some of our key achievements. So as you're aware, in 2024, we received an increase of $1.25 million to the 311 budget with the goal of getting wait times down. Happy to report that in 2024, our average wait time at 311 was 1 minute and 24 seconds, which was down from 5 minutes in the year prior. And the year prior to that, it was well over 11 minutes. So we've definitely worked hard to achieve that goal to get that wait time down. As part of that funding that we had for 2024, we were able to add 9 additional CSR1 positions. So those are the positions that are our front line that answer the phones. In addition, we added 2 new KML positions. So those are the staff that help with writing scripting, working on development of online forms and those pieces. So they are working really hard right now on doing rewrites of scripting for 311. And we also added 1 more Council 311 position. We know that this is a position that councillors rely upon. We only had 1 full FTE for Council 311, so it was being answered Monday to Friday through business hours, and now we've added a second FTE so that we can answer the phone for council inquiries directly outside of Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 4:30.
On this page?
Yeah. So
it would have been great if we knew that you've added this position for Council 311 so that it's not 9 to 4 now, because I use 311 versus Council 311. So when did you add that position and what are the hours? And can you send an email to councilors so we know?
Yeah, I can answer all of that in an email, Counselor. I don't
Well, I
have
think
that
just let's
specific.
put it on the record.
I don't have it specifically in front of me.
Okay. And tell us now, how many knowledge management liaisons do you have in total?
So we had 3, we're now up to 5.
So you have 5, and they're the ones that work with the departments to write the script?
Yes.
Okay, because that's good, that's good, okay. Great, so if you could send counselors that email, that would be great, super.
Moving on wait times. It is significant, so, yeah, that's great. Thank you.
And in addition, just to note on that, in 2024, wait times went down, but the number of contacts with 311 went up, especially calls received did go up by about 50,000 last year. So wait times went down, but call volume did
Up,
increase.
wait times down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking for that the other day. Is it on the website? Like, can we find that on the city website, the number of calls that we get? Like, where can we find the number of calls? I had a resident calling, complaining about something, and I wanted to say, look, there's so many calls we get. Is that information?
It's no longer published.
It used to be,
It
right?
used to be.
I know, I
Yeah,
can't
it
find
used to
it.
be included as part of Volume 1 of the budget.
Yeah.
And when that got restructured, that actual number of calls was no longer published as part of that budget.
So how could we find that? That's, how do we get that information on how many calls come in? It helps put things into perspective, I find, for people saying, look, this is what we're dealing with.
Simply ask me, Counselor.
Sure. Okay,
I'm happy at any time to
Okay.
provide that info.
thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next one. So this is just performance reporting again, just in a slightly different format, as I mentioned. So in here are 2024 actuals. Our talk time was still 6 minutes and 56 seconds. While we have a target, I'm not enforcing it. Unlike other call centers, we don't drive our agents to hang up the phone. Rather, we want them to complete the call and answer if possible on the first request. So that's a fluctuating number. Our target wait time was 3 minutes. We got it down to 1:43, as I mentioned. And our overall 311 requests on the year were just over 850,000.
Requests and calls. Are requests calls for action, or what are requests?
Requests includes every channel that we utilize. So it's not just phones, but it's what's coming in through the front counters, what's coming in through online services, in addition to what's coming in through the phone.
So that was the number of requests then for the year?
Correct.
Okay, requests for so what's service, okay, service request is the percentage, you've just broken it, service.
Service request versus information request, when that's the percentage. So that's how we break down either our residents contacting 311 to request a service, i.e. can you come clear my snow, versus information, what parking bans are in effect.
Okay, so like out of 797,000 requests, 53% were for service, 46 were info.
Correct. So our hope, while I always have a 50-50 target, my hope is over time, as we're improving information on the website and access to information, that those number of information requests as a percentage should start declining versus service requests we should see as a percentage increasing subsequently.
And do you have the data on that for like, I guess you do, for sure, 2021, like it goes back?
Yes.
Sure, okay. And,
So-
sorry, one last question. For information requests, I know that you've been updating the website and doing a bit of an overhaul there. What's the game plan for dealing with information requests, getting it to sort of continue dropping? Is it just the website?
It is the website, because as you'll see when we're doing advertisements or other public education campaigns, we're trying to drive people to the website with the hope that the information is on the website and sending them to the appropriate place. So as we're continuing, I know I've mentioned previously the website overhaul, unfortunately, is a long-term project just due to resourcing. So as we continue to work on making those improvements, like I said, hopefully over time, the website information gets clearer, it's easier to navigate, but it's just a continuing, ongoing process.
Okay.
So, sorry, on that slide, still, if I hear this right, and as per your previous slide, your first slide, In 2024, then, the number of 311 requests was close to 850,000?
Just over.
Just over 850,000?
Yeah, 863,584 to be precise.
And the average wait time was a minute 24.
Minute 43,
Minute 43?
minute 43.
Oh, it says minute 24 on the first page.
Sorry, that was a typo on my part. It's a minute 43.
Oh,
Apologies.
well, that's not as good.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm
I
being
deducted 20
sarcastic there.
seconds.
No, that's a significant improvement, so that's great. Thank you.
On to the next slide. So for 2025, we have 98 FTEs with combined mill rate support in the budget of 6.8 million and a capital budget of 0.1 million. And now I'm going to turn it over to Randy.
Time for Felicia?
So I guess when you've got the contact center, that 98.2, that is just the contact center,
That's 311's FTEs.
correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then for the company, the corporation as a whole, for the city as a whole, and maybe you're going to get to this, how many people are in the department from the standpoint of corporate communications? I know we have them embedded in departments. I know you have a team. Is that in here anywhere?
No, because that was part of the CAO's budget presentation earlier.
Okay, coming up. All right, perfect. Thank you.
So here we see the breakdown of the expenditures for the contact center 311 service. The largest expenditures for salaries and benefits is 6.9 million. Goods and services of 800,000 include costs for communication and software. And we have grants and transfers of 500,000. That's mostly for municipal accommodations expense. There are recoveries from other departments totaling 1.7 million. That's primarily from transit, water and waste and parking authority. That's for services provided by the 311 contact center. The 2025 budget is 6.8 million. It's an increase of 100,000 from 2024. And the increase can be primarily attributed to an increase in salary costs. This slide shows the change from last year's multi-year budget, and there is no net change. Here we see the total salary budgets and full-time equivalent amounts. There is a decrease from 98.27 full-time equivalent positions to 98.02. The net decrease in customer service representatives was to fund a human resource assistant. The 2025 submission is 6.9 million for salaries and benefits, increasing marginally each year. These amounts include vacancy management, 3.37 FTEs, and $226,000.
Okay, in terms of our capital budget, it is housed within the Innovation Department, and this is, Marcelli and Tyler were speaking about this earlier. The piece that directly relates to 311 is the Digital Customer Experience Program, which was formerly known as the 311 Renewal Program. So as they mentioned, it's upgrades to 311 software, telephone interaction systems, and in addition to the customer service portal.
Yes, and maybe this will come forward in your plan, but the plan, it looks like it's delayed again. Are we moving towards like a chat system?
So that is part of as the AI initiative. Part of what we're currently working on with innovation is to get a chat system functioning. The improvements to our website have definitely helped that technology.
Right.
But we're continuing, like I mentioned, to work with innovation. I want to make sure that whatever product that we're releasing in terms of a chat is well functioning. I think we've done a lot of good work to try to improve the reputation of 311, and I don't want to risk launching a chat system that maybe doesn't quite work effectively and just drives people back to the phones anyway.
So that is really based on the website.
Correct. It's on the website, and it's also, as I'm learning more about how AI and chat works, it's learning, so it's working with it to make sure that it's getting the correct routing in place and getting the correct answers to residents when they're asking questions. So I know our staff in innovation, along with some of my staff, have been working really hard over the past few months to try to help educate the AI bots on how our processes work and finding the correct information.
So when do you envision maybe piloting something?
I think right now we're looking at Q2 of 2025, so it'll be probably a late spring launch, probably closer to the end of Q2 2025.
And then I guess my last question for now is, you indicated at some point that residents wouldn't be able to email their requests to 311, and we had seminars on it, and we were going to do it, and where are we at with that?
Yeah, so we're still working on that project. The number of emails that are coming into 311, while they are declining, they're still higher than I would like them. The employee who was managing that project did retire on us this fall, so we've got a new staff member in there. So we're just making a little bit of an adjustment to the timing. I don't have a new set time on when we think we're going to eliminate the email, but that is still something that we're working towards.
Because I think we were communicating it to residents that on the 15th of, I think it was January, that we weren't going to be taking emails anymore?
Yeah, so we've removed that target date out of the emails, and we're going to continue, as we had been over the months, to drive people to the online forums. The number of online form usage is just, it is increasing quite substantially year over year. People are definitely heading to the online forums and utilizing them as a form of communication with 311, but we just need to do a little bit of a pivot before we're ready to completely eliminate the email.
And we were discussing the online forums, you and I were discussing the online forums. Are you going to revise how they're displayed on the front of the website?
Yeah, so I mean, we're continuing, and as you and I mentioned, to a lot of what is displayed on that homepage of the website is really driven by call volumes and seasonality. So we're trying to make sure that we're aligning what's on the homepage with what is happening currently. It's all manual processes, unfortunately. It's not an automated, directly connected. So, you know, when we're doing snow clearing operations, for example, we also will wait for triggers from the department for when they're receiving clearing operation requests. And so we do that as a bit of a manual. So, I mean, we're continually monitoring what's on that homepage. We know it's not effective to have every service request form on the homepage.
No, but easier to find the service request forms.
Yeah, so we're still looking at it, like I said, as part of that redevelopment of the website. I mean, we're going to continue to look at how we better display those pieces of information. But yeah, so I mean, work in progress.
Councillor Duncan?
Yeah, just on the chatbot side of things for the site, you mentioned about the city processes. So are we looking to have these chatbots learn the city processes, or are we looking to review the city processes so that they're more practical for the bot to navigate?
I'm not redoing city processes as part of this initiative, but what we're doing is just ensuring that the keywords and those pieces, when someone is asking a chatbot, that the chatbot is understanding and sending folks to the right places.
Okay, because when you said the processes piece, I thought, well, private sector, like billion-dollar corporations, have chatbots pretty much as a common practice now. So I'm just not following
Yeah.
where we're, I guess.
We're not a billion-dollar corporation, so we have limited funds available.
No, the city of Winnipeg.
Yeah, I understand, sorry.
Yeah.
311 though, I mean, there's limited funds that were available for the chatbot process,
Yeah.
so we're not out buying.
Sorry, let me clarify. To navigate a billion-dollar private corporation.
Yeah.
It's almost common practice now that there's chatbots available. So to navigate a billion-dollar corporation that is the city of Winnipeg, why can't we get to a chatbot today?
So we're working on it, as I've said, and we're looking at Q2 of 2025. It's just the funding that's available for us to purchase the software that's required for the chatbot. We're not purchasing the top end right now. I think we had a limited budget for what we were allowed to use as part of the AI project, and that's what the funds that we're working within, and that's the amount of staffing that we have available. So it's.
Can we expect a proposal in the budget for whatever funding is required? Like, I don't know how much it costs.
So
This is
right
the first time hearing that.
right now it's part of the AI, the Mayor's AI Challenge. So as I said, we're just trying to find a minimum viable product at this point to test it, to see if it works. So that's the phase that we're in. From there, we'll work with our IT colleagues. If this is a product that we think we need to invest more funds in, absolutely. But we're still in those early stages.
Okay.
Sorry, I was looking if
questions at
Tyler
all?
Gooch was still here. He might be able to explain it better, but he appears to not.
Other questions at all on this? Okay, carry on.
Okay, so capital budget, as I mentioned, no changes to previous submission. And now we're at questions.
Any other questions at all?
Customer
Okay.
service is huge, right? Like,
Yeah,
and this
we're-
is the front line.
It's the front line, we're seeing some good improvements,
Yeah.
which is great, more coming. I mean, that's not, I want to highlight those 301 numbers. You take a look at 2022, the wait time was 11 minutes and 22 seconds for 578,000 requests. Now we're at a minute 43 for 850,000 requests. So that's significant improvement. More people are using the forms, that's significant improvement. You're working with and populating, the AI chatbot, that's significant improvement with more to come. So great, thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it, thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk?
The last presentation is the City Clerk's Department for Council Services.
All right, welcome, and thank you, gentlemen. We'll turn it over to you, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Worship, members of Executive Policy Committee. I'm joined today by City Auditor Jason Eggert, Deputy City Clerk Andrew Poitras, as well as Randy Menard, the Manager of Finance and Administration, and we're here to provide an overview of the 2025 budget update for Council Services. During the presentation, we'll provide some service highlights and report on performances for 2024, and we'll also look at budget highlights and provide an overview of the council service budget for 2025.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much. I first want to thank...
Luke, for a second, thank you. Carry on.
Good morning, everyone. First, like to thank council and mayor and council for the continued support for audit and the work we do. I'd like to highlight a few areas. We've completed 21 projects, so under our assurance, advisory, and investigative services, we've completed 21 projects and reports, including 2 performance audits, 2 due diligence reviews, 11 independent fairness commissioner reports, and the implementation of audit recommendation quarterly reports, 4 of those. We've also processed 59 fraud and waste hotline reports during that time.
And during the course of 2024, the City Clerk's Department facilitated over 200 council and committee meetings, processed over 2,000 applications for access to information under the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, better known as FIPA, and processed approximately 5,000 assessment appeals through the Board of Revision. We also conducted a by-election for the Louis Riel School Division, Ward 1, and conducted 164 marriages in 2024.
So now we'll be going over some of the performance. We plug into our Winnipeg under leadership and governance, and under this strategic priorities action plan, the key theme of a city that works for residents and through improved customer service. The goal that we're talking about, delivering value-added, cost-effective, and innovative audit services. We've picked the percentage of audit recommendations accepted. Our goal is 95%. When we work with them, we've been achieving 100%. I think that's an indication of the recommendations that we do actually are being accepted by the public service and by you guys, and being implemented by you guys along the way. So that's...
I guess I'm the chair, so I'll ask the question. Okay. So this is great that departments are accepting and, modifying the activities to meet the audit recommendations. Does the audit, I guess the audit department, like, who goes back and checks on it in a year or two? Like, who does that? Does anyone do that? Probably not.
No, so that is the process actually that we have as far as are you saying once they're implemented or just
Once
make sure they're implemented?
Once they're implemented, I could pick one in particular. Once it's implemented, Who goes back and makes sure that it's continuing to be delivered on, the recommendations are delivered on?
So the quick answer, nobody regularly on that front.
Right.
Once it's been
Okay.
implemented, we actually follow up through
Okay.
the implementation, like to
Right.
make
This
sure it's
is-
implemented. It may get through our normal audit, like our annual audit process, we may actually flag it as something
Sure.
that you guys identify or whatever that you would like us to do a deeper dive into.
Sure, okay, so this would be, more CAO, head of departments, whatever, to ensure that it's continuing to be acted on.
Absolutely, we actually, and our recommendations and our follow-up on the implementation recommendations, even though it's not specific in some of our like the actual recommendation we make, the implication is that when we consider it implicated, we actually try to make sure that there's a process to make sure it's maintained and sustained on that side. So, but that doesn't stop us or you guys for requesting a
Yeah.
post-implementation audit too on that front.
Post-implementation
Yeah, like,
audit.
something that gets done, we can actually go in and actually specifically audit that. I mean, we've got limited resources, I wouldn't
Right.
say
I
that
know.
that would be the best use of our resources right off the
I
bat,
know.
but sometimes.
Well, on some of these things that you're auditing are multi-million dollar activities that occur.
Absolutely.
And anyways, okay, that's good to know. Perfect. Any other questions from any members? No? Okay, continue on. Thank you.
So also under Council Services, the City Clerk's Department serves as the primary access point for political decision-making for the City of Winnipeg. We offer comprehensive policy, procedural, and administrative support to council members and the administration, and maintain the record of all council and committee decisions. The department also holds a statutory responsibility for overseeing elections, managing assessment appeal hearings through the Board of Revision, facilitating requests for information under FIPA, and also spearheading the City of Winnipeg Records and Information Management Program, as well as curating civic history through the operation of the City of Winnipeg Archives. One of the departmental goals is to ensure citizen access and the ability to participate in the City of Winnipeg decision-making process. And in 2023, we had a total of 710 delegations appearing and participating in council and committee meetings, and 1,833 representations at public hearings, giving us a combined total of 2,543 individuals that actively engaged in the decision-making process. The council services budget contributing departments include council, city clerks, the mayor's office, the audit department, of course, and the Office of Policy and Strategic Initiatives. And for 2025, the service has 81.77 FTEs and a mill rate support budget of $19.2 million and a capital budget of $100,000 with no reserves. We'll now move on to the service-based operating budget.
Okay, so the following slide provides a breakdown of the revenue and expenditures for council services. The revenue you see there is $140,000 is largely related to Board of Revision assessment appeal filing fees. Other revenue also includes marriage services, sale of merchandise, and printing services. The largest expenditure is salaries and benefits at a cost of $10.3 million, followed by services of $4.4 million, which includes councilor's ward allowance, membership fees, including FCM and AMM, audit consulting services, and other professionals and non-professional services. Grants, transfers, and others includes community grants and municipal accommodation expenses. The recoveries you see there include transfers from other departments for archives and records control services. Okay, moving on, the next slide shows the change in the 2025 budget submission in comparison to the approved 2024 budget. On the revenue side, there's a decrease of $600,000, and that's due to a reduction in Board of Revision appeal filing fees, as this year is not a reassessment cycle for the Board of Revision. Expenditures increased by $500,000, and that's mostly due to an increase in salaries and benefits. When comparing the 2025 projection to the 2024 adopted budget, there's an increase in mill rate support, which is mostly due to the increase in salaries and benefits, as well as the reinstatement of the 2025 grant to the Downtown Community Safety Partnership to match the 2024 funding level for their community outreach, advocacy, and resource program. Moving on to FTEs. The total salary budget and FTE amounts show a slight increase of 0.72 of an FTE in 2025, and that's due to the annualization of the Chief Construction Officer and their support staff. The FTE increase that you see in 2026 is related to temporary staff, which our department hires for the purpose of conducting the 2026 general election. Overall, salaries and benefits total $10.3 million in 2025 and rise to $10.9 million in 2027. These amounts include a vacancy management of 3.56 FTEs for a total of $316,000. We'll now move on to the service-based capital budget.
And Council Services has a 6-year total capital budget submission of $10.6 million. The projects in the funded capital submission include election systems and equipment upgrades required to facilitate the 2026 and 2030 elections, audio-video equipment replacement in 2027, and funding of Communities Fund in 2026 to 2030 to support neighborhood projects. The capital submission also includes $1.4 million in 2029 for the replacement of voting machines for the 2030 election.
Okay.
Any questions in this area here? So audio-video equipment replacement. Now, who will be, who's filming? Who's downstairs or wherever doing this? Who does it for councils? I think there was a change in staffing to that?
That was a couple of years ago where we actually increased the FTEs to provide services for that as the requirements for live streaming all of the meetings begin to increase. We also don't forget we provide services for things like press conferences that are on-site,
Right.
off-site. You probably saw them a lot this year at 150 events.
Right.
And that's 3 individuals that do all of that. And a lot of that equipment that we use to facilitate these meetings as well as the off-site press conferences, they take quite a beating because they're used quite a bit. When these systems were first implemented, they were to, specifically in this chamber, they were to stream and conduct meetings once a month. Now we actually do this on a regular basis. So a lot of the equipment that we use needs to be replaced more often than it is before.
Right.
Certainly the equipment that we use off-site, it's taking a bit of a bigger beating than we anticipated. So the money that we have in there, I think, is $100,000 in 2027. Again, that's to upgrade and replace a lot of equipment. And with the increasing cost to equipment, it's getting a little bit harder to do that. But right now, we're still okay.
Okay. And just a question here. What year was it we started live streaming committee meetings?
I believe I was there for that. It was an EPC meeting with Mayor Bowman. I don't know.
Did
the
we
specific
live
date.
stream EPC before?
We did not.
Okay, so the only thing, like when I started in 2014, the only,
This was pre-COVID, I believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we were live streaming committee meetings at that point. I guess that's when we started?
Yes.
Live streaming committee
Yes.
meetings. Okay, I think that's great. People like it, I like it. It's,
Yeah, and it's become now part of the public record as well.
Exactly.
And it's part of our minutes, so, which is another challenge, right? Because again, these videos take up a lot of space.
Right.
So that's
Right.
another challenge that we're trying to overcome.
Right.
But funding through all of this, these budgets, these capital
Right.
improvements.
and your team has to sit there and all of that through them. Okay, all right, great, thank you. Okay. Continue.
Okay. The next slide here outlines the capital budget changes. From the 2024 forecast, as you can see, there are no changes for 2025. However, you will see a change beginning in 2026 due to Communities Fund reduction of $70,000, and then again in 2027 of $200,000, and that's to assist with the funding for the St. Boniface Outdoor Aquatic Facility Project through the St. Boniface Ward allocation of the Communities Fund. You'll also see 2030, the forecast includes funding for election systems and equipment, as well as the Communities Fund.
Questions?
Further questions at all at this time?
No, I just, if I could just say, like, I really, really thank you guys for the support, all your team, all the clerks' team. I really, you guys deliver incredible service to us. I feel you do, and I just want to thank you very much. Another year, another pile of work to do.
It's very kind of you. Thank you very much. We certainly enjoy doing it, so it's a lot of fun. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you very much. I just confirm with the clerk, we don't need any motion out of these presentations. And so we can go now into the regular agenda. Excuse me. Does anyone need a break for a few minutes? Okay, let's take a 7-minute break, okay? And then we'll, thank you to those maybe watching online. We'll take about a 7-minute break. Thank you to all the departments for presenting today, and then we'll come back. Thank you. Okay, reconvening our Executive Policy Committee meeting for January the 21st. We're into our regular delegation, agenda now. First item is the monthly update on supportive housing, addiction, and social action indicators. And I think, Mr. CAO, we're going to turn it over to Mr. Mahi for a bit of an update here. Thank you.
Thank you, members of EPC and Mr. Mayor. Quick little update. Last year was a good news with regards to a couple things. One, we exceeded the mayor's challenge that was presented to all of the city of Winnipeg department staff around creating a city of where we're going to be focusing on housing. We exceeded the 8,000 challenge that was presented to us last year. I also want to make note as well is that with the Housing Accelerator Fund, we exceeded the first year's target with that program, which was just over 3,700 units. We were just over 4,300 units by the end of that first year. So that was a good news in year one. We're hoping to see good news in year two as well. I just want to make note of a few little changes to the report. On table, most notably, it'll be table 1 and table 2. So table 1, we're gonna, because we want to focus in on showing both members of council, but the public in terms of what our pipeline looks like in terms of the housing numbers. We want to continue to report on development applications. So that's typically either administratively approved or approved by members of council. You're obviously committee, that process. And so we're going to continue to report on that. Development permits, that's the next stage before we get to a building permits. We want to continue to report on those, and that's essentially going to be our pipeline table. On table 2, we've just made a few modifications to it. That's the table that we're reporting on to CMHC. So as part of the annual report, we've adjusted it to reflect how we're reporting to CMHC. And that way you can see where the units are going in terms of into single family, missing middle, which is defined as less than multifamily less than 4 stories, multifamily other, which is multifamily with 5 stories or more, and then we have numbers with regards to affordability under the net new and how we track our development within proximity to transit. And so those are the changes we have here, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to meet our targets again this year. The grant program from round 1, we're anticipating building permits this year, so we'll hopefully see those jumps in this calendar year.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions at all on this item? Okay, I think in the future here, I think you're looking at maybe changing the reporting. Are you looking at maybe changing the reporting to align more so with the CMHC reporting?
Yeah, so that's what we're doing on table 2 in particular.
Okay. But the other information, if we request it, would be available as far as overall number of development applications and development permits, not just specific to the information that CMHC is looking at. Like,
Yeah,
we have information that is kind of beyond what CMHC is requiring?
Exactly. So both table 1 it shows the pipeline,
Yeah.
and table 2 will show how we're reporting to CMHC.
Okay. Any other questions at all? Okay, thank you very much then. Councilor Santos, you want to move the receipt of this verbal report,
Sure.
please?
So
Okay,
moved.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. I'll get someone. Okay, item number 2, monthly update on program and activities for Winnipeg 150.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have Felicia Wiltshire, Manager of Customer Service and Communications, to provide us with the final update, subject to the motion.
So we have officially concluded Winnipeg 150, and we are now on to Winnipeg 151. So I'd like to go over just a quick overview of what we accomplished over the course of this past year. So on January 19th, 2024, we officially marked 150 years as a city, which was the anniversary of the first city council meeting. We had a full year of celebrating our city and the people who live here, and our theme for the year was Our Shared Stories, Our Shared Future, which paved the way as we reflected on our past and looked ahead to the future. One of the first items that we launched was a graphic that we had all over the city. It was a representation of our city, and it was acknowledging the importance of our Indigenous roots. That graphic was designed by local artist Jordan Stranger of Totem Duyum. I know that I had heard countless positive just reflections on the graphic, and a lot of people were very, very impressed with it. In addition, we created a video series called From Time Memorial to Tomorrow, Indigenous Perspectives on Winnipeg 150, and it featured stories of local First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people, and the series had 3 parts looking at the past, present, and future of Winnipeg. To bring celebrations, we tried to bring the celebrations to as many Winnipeggers as possible, and we joined over 60 community events throughout the year. We had a community pop-up booth that traveled to each event and included giveaways, crafts, and photo opportunities. To help bring our theme to life, we introduced a celebration grant of which 12 organizations received funding to help highlight our history and future through music, performances, festivals, and exhibits. We also partnered with our 6 major sports teams in Winnipeg and hosted Winnipeg 150 game days with each team. These game days featured giveaways, opening pitches, puck drops, and meeting many Winnipeggers at our pop-up booth. We also celebrated our 11 sister cities in an afternoon at the Forks. And our city councilors hosted community celebrations in their ward to help build community and create some lasting memories. Earlier this fall, a half-century-old hockey rivalry was rekindled with the city versus the province hockey game. The mayors, city councilors, and city staff went head-to-head with premiers, MLAs, and provincial staff, and the city shut out the province in a 6-0 win. This recreated a game played 50 years ago for our 100th anniversary. We also took time to commemorate our fallen soldiers with a special candlelight ceremony at Brookside Cemetery. Over 10,000 candles were placed on tombstones for veterans, and community members were invited to reflect and share stories throughout the evening. A candlelight ceremony is held each September to recognize and honor those who have served. As we know, thousands of Winnipeggers give back to their communities every year, and this year we were able to award a special Winnipeg 150 medal to recognize 150 of these incredible individuals. We also were able to plant 150 trees in their name throughout the city. For the first time, we held the Winnipeg 150 Mayor's Ball, which raised over $80,000 in funds for 4 major local performing arts organizations in Winnipeg. It was a night of dazzling performances that showcased the incredible talent and creativity of our performing arts scene. And to cap off the year, we closed the Winnipeg 150 time capsule last Friday. It included letters from dignitaries and items documenting this year's celebration. There are also items that give a glimpse into Winnipeg at this moment in time, and the exact items it contains will remain a secret until it is opened in 50 years from now in 2074. So I would like to just take a moment to thank all the city staff who helped to make Winnipeg 150 possible, and to every community group, organization, and media partner who brought the theme to life. And a special thank you to every Winnipegger who celebrated along with us. And while Winnipeg 150 has concluded, our interactive display that the archives put together is still going to continue to move through Winnipeg libraries until the end of June. And that concludes my 150 report.
Okay, any further questions, comments? Just,
No, good
yeah.
party.
Just want to say thank you to you, Felicia, the entire team, across departments who organized so many events. Kind of we're on a working group all through the year to, to accomplish all that was done. I noticed, just yesterday you posted something online and just kind of a survey of the year, and thought, my goodness, the collective, we did a lot of things to celebrate Winnipeg 150. So again, thank you, to everyone who had a part to play in this. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. I think Councillor Lukes has a motion on this one.
Now that we're sort of done the 150 celebration, I'd like to make a motion that the monthly verbal reports to the EPC Committee on Planning and Programming be concluded.
Again, with thanks, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Item number 3 is customer service and wait time improvements within 311 services. I think we're looking for a 60-day extension there. Councillor Bawadi?
Thank you. Thank you. We had a good preview this morning, I think, of some of the good news coming out of the 311 service, but we'll hear more when this report comes forward in 60 days. So I'll move the layover.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item numbers 4 and 5, if we could take those together. Item number 5 being a 60-day extension. Councillor Duncan?
Yeah, I'll move item number 4, the 2023 Annual Report of French Language Services as recommended by the Public Service.
Okay, that's moving item number 4. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And Councillor Duncan, a 60-day extension, please, on item number 5.
Yeah, I'll move the 60-day period as recommended by the Public Service.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item number 6, the citizen member appointments for Grants Old Mill. Councillor Duncan, please.
Yeah, appreciate the patience by the community and the Public Service working with us on this. Happy to report that 2 new appointees for the St. James Assiniboia Pioneer Association, and ask that we move the community committee recommendation.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. And then moving on to item number 7, Councillor Bawadi, appointment of city representatives to Winnipeg Police Pension Board and the Winnipeg Civic Employees Benefits Program.
Thank you very much. An amendment has been distributed. There was inaccuracy. There's one person that needs to do both, I understand. So I move the motion as amended.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 8 is the single source negotiation award of contract for the procurement of trial functionality of Transit app extended features, purchasing reference number 903-2024. Councillor Lukes.
I'll move this item.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Sorry, just wait. Sorry. I wanted Bjorn to speak to it a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Is Bjorn here?
Slow on the draw here. I'm reading the next motion.
Bjorn is here.
If it's possible, just because, if it's okay, if Bjorn can come down and speak to it. We're undergoing a very large overhaul of our transit routes this year, and any opportunity that I have to highlight what's happening so that people understand it, so that the public and councillors can understand it, I'm going to take that opportunity. So you're going to hear a lot about transit.
Okay.
So if that's okay, sorry about that. So this is I think this is really important, and I would just like you to maybe articulate, this didn't come to the Public Works Committee to transit because it's a single source, but I would just really like you to articulate what exactly this is.
Sure. As everybody knows, with the launch of the primary transit network and feeder routes that's coming at the end of June of this year, it's the largest change to our route network ever in Winnipeg's history. Essentially, every single route in the city outside of Southwest, where we made the big changes back in 2020, is going to be replaced. So there's going to be a big learning curve for all the citizens of Winnipeg, and we need all the communication tools that we can possibly muster in order to help people understand what this new network will be, what it'll mean for traveling by transit, and just how to use it to get around. So one of the reasons that this particular app is important is, first of all, Winnipeg has the highest usage of this particular app of any city that doesn't have a formal partnership with the transit app company. So our riders are already using it a lot, more than in any other city that doesn't have this formal paid partnership with them. The other things are that it has a network preview mode where people will be able to enter in a date in the future and be able to plan trips with the new network, and we'll have that launched. We're expecting about 2 months in advance. So by the beginning of May, people will be able to use this app to go on to be able to plan trips using the new network that will be functioning starting on June 29th of this year. One other really important thing is that Transit App has developed a really neat bit of functionality called automatic detour detection. And so if, I believe, 3 buses in a row deviate from the planned route, then the app will assume that there's a detour in place, and it'll tell everybody who's using the app to go catch a bus. Don't go to any of the stops that aren't being served right now, and to go catch a bus at another stop where the bus is going by. In general, if people know the route network really well, that functionality isn't necessarily critical, but it's just inevitable that on opening day, there will be construction and there will be detours. There's simply no way around that. And people can understand detours on routes that they already know and are already taking, but if on the day we launch all of this new service, buses aren't able to operate on the streets where they're planned, that's very confusing for people. So we really need this technology for people to be able to know where to catch their buses and how to use them when those inevitable detours are in effect. Lastly, we're expanding the use of on-request service with the primary transit network. And one of the functions that this app offers is if somebody's planning a trip in an area that has on-request service, it will direct you to then go and book a trip on-request in our on-request app. You don't do the booking in the transit app, but they have good integration with all of the different on-request service providers, including the one that we use now. And it'll direct people to go there and book that trip. So those three things together make this a really necessary communication tool at launch.
Right, okay. So everyone heard that? I think this is, I think it's very exciting. So this is for a one-year contract.
Correct.
Now, people are going to love it, and they're going to want it longer. It's this rerouting with construction and stuff, but I guess we'll deal with that when we get to that. But
Yeah.
no, I think this is really good. Any tools that we can have, and we will be mentioning this in our community toolkit. Is that what we'll be talking about too?
Yes.
And it starts, when does this start? It starts May? When is this app, these functions going to be implemented?
End of April, beginning of May is what we're
Right,
looking for.
okay, so, yeah, the whole construction one is excellent, and just the fact that all the routes are changing. Okay, so I won't take up any more of your time. You guys are very busy, I know. Thank you very much for coming down and explaining it to us. Any questions?
Just confirming, it's a green app, right? Like, is it the green one? Like,
Yeah,
is it
and
says transit, just simply says transit?
Yeah, it can be a little bit confusing that they just call themselves transit a lot, and every transit agent, when people hear that, they assume it's actually the transit agency in their hometown, because everybody just calls, people call Winnipeg Transit here transit. Same applies in every other city, so
Right.
that's what I'm trying to say. It's the transit app, and yeah, it's the green one that has like a little logo that looks like a rapid transit line.
Yeah, I've used it in Victoria earlier, well, in the spring of 2024. It's fantastic. I've used it here several times. It's fantastic. And it's so interactive that if I've got this right, if I recall, it asks you when you're on the bus, is your bus on time? Is it clean? All that kind of stuff. So it's, in real time, you can really be providing updates on your transit experience as well. It's an excellent, excellent app. So good, glad we're using it. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And maybe we could have that little logo image in our community kit. I know there's lots of travel planners that are taking people, and I would imagine they're going to try and push them to this app, so, yeah, big kudos for transit again. I took transit again today, got on at the end of Pembina and the perimeter at 7:31. I got here at 8:05 in the door. That's great.
Okay, thank you very much. An exciting year for transit coming up in 2025. There's been a lot of exciting years, but this will be a big, big year, so it's great. Thank you very much to the team. Appreciate that. Okay, all in favor then? Yeah. Aye? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item number 9, this is related to assault-style firearms compensation contribution agreement. Councilor Lutz to
Okay.
move that.
Sure, I'll
All
move
in-
this.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? Councilor Santos opposed to that one?
Okay.
Item number 10, this is award of contract provision for the lease of a to-own police helicopter, bid opportunity 677, 2024. There might be questions. Is our interim acting chief of police, Art Standard, available online?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe Acting Chief Standard is here via Zoom.
1 second, we're just going to pull. Oh, there we go. We got the team. So, yeah, thank you very much to you, Chief
We got the
Standard.
helicopter team.
The helicopter team, that's great. Appreciate that. Thank you. Maybe I'll turn it over to questions. I think Councillor Duncan has a question at this time. We'll just jump right into it, please. Councillor Duncan, go ahead.
Can I just add one thing? First, Happy New Year to all of you. We haven't seen you since the start of the new year, so Happy New Year. This agreement, or this report is for a replacement for our helicopter. We already have a helicopter, and it's just really evergreening it, and the different options of either buying one or leasing one. So this is what the report's about. It's not really to talk about having a helicopter. It's more of a talk about evergreen our original helicopter.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Duncan?
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Chief. Just for clarification on the actual purchasing or leasing, is this coming from existing budget?
Yes, it is. Yeah, we're asking for no new money.
No new money, okay. And I know we're not talking about having a helicopter or not, but just as a reminder to the public, the benefits of having Air One available?
Yeah, turn that over, Superintendent Brian.
Yeah, Brian Milner. Yeah, so the helicopter has been a really valuable resource to the police service for our membership, but also most importantly to the public. I would say dollar for dollar, probably one of the best investments that the police service makes in terms of being able to get to high-risk calls for service quickly, effectively, efficiently, having that aerial perspective. And it isn't just for pursuits, although that's probably one of the main factors that it's used in, and it greatly reduces risk to the public in those events, in the sense that I think last year we were somewhere in the neighborhood of about 100 pursuits and or follows of vehicles that were actively evading police or trying to evade police. So it allows those ground units to back off and allow the helicopter to take over in those situations. So our report, annual report, should be coming out soon on that, but has all kinds of metrics in relation to the value. I believe there was over 400 people that were either captured or identified, all the way from suspects in very serious edged weapon, firearm assaults to missing persons.
Thank you, and yeah, you touched on one of the points there that I, as an area councillor, try to communicate to the public. It's not for the wild, wild west chases. It's also serving a use for those that are at risk and potentially missing persons. You know, looking at being able to cover larger areas, provide, you know, our frontline people with real-time information as well. I think it's a extremely valuable resource that, you know, is commonly used across jurisdictions in North America, and I don't think that we should be putting any people at risk by not having this resource, and appreciate you answering my questions.
Yes, thank you very much for that. I guess the question would be, to follow up on that, is drone technology is being developed and it's advancing quickly. You know, I've made this comment before, and I think it's spoken to you in passing before. Is drone technology something that the police service is looking at, could be looking at? Is it a possibility that drones in the future, when they're, you know, ready for that, could be utilized, maybe either in place of the helicopter, or just, you know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just maybe kind of speak to us about how the Winnipeg Police Service is looking at that technology?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Brian Milne again. Yeah, I can answer that. Yeah, so I guess to start off, I could say that we are investing heavily in our drone program. We anticipate adding 2 additional members to that coming this spring because of the massive increase in demand for that asset, which has proven very, very valuable to accomplishing our day-to-day mission and work. I would say, though, that even though we are investing in monitoring the technology and that realm on a month-to-month basis, the drones are still not in a position to replace what the helicopter does. Two very different mission sets, which actually complement each other. So quite simply, the drones, they haven't advanced to the point where we have first off, I would say the speed to attend to an event in progress. We don't have the range either with a drone. And lastly, we simply don't have the amount of airtime. So the proposal for our incoming helicopter can fly for approximately 2.5 to 3 hours airborne, whereas a drone, you're looking at about 20 minutes. So even though that technology has probably advanced, it's quite incredible how much the drone technology has advanced in the last 2 to 3 years. I would say it's like probably quadrupled in terms of capabilities. We're still not at the point where we're able to replace those assets for those reasons. But it is something that we are closely monitoring.
Just to add to that, this agreement will also have a buyout. If we find that drones one day might be able to take over the helicopter duties, there will be different years where we can buy out the helicopter.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that information. We appreciate it. Councilors, any more? Councilor Duncan, one more question?
Yeah, just on the financial side of it, looking at the lease payments per month, I believe that equates 180 months to 15 years. Do we feel like that, I mean, the technology is advancing so quickly. Do you feel like that's potentially too long of a period of time to be entering into a lease for? And I know you just mentioned the buyout, but some comments on that?
Yeah, it's Brian Melton again here. Yeah, I can speak to that. So probably a good way to look at this lease to own 15-year agreement is it's similar to a mortgage. We would, let's just say, for example, 8 years, 10 years down the road from now, the drone ability advances so much that it is actually has the ability to replace the helicopter. We would have an option to get ourselves out of the lease. Of course, there would be financial penalties to doing that, and interest rate differentials and things like that. But if we did a financial business case on it and we decided that, yes, at like year 8, year 10, it was more financially responsible to do that, we could do that. One important point to make, that's part of the reason that we wanted to go with the lease option versus the outright purchase, is that if we did move in that direction, for example, at year 10, we would, of course, own that asset outright. The helicopter, we could strip it of its police equipment, and there would be a very viable commercial market for an H-125 helicopter across Canada, or essentially anywhere in North America, which we could resell and recoup investment as well through this sale of the asset.
Good. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you all for your time and the information. We do appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, with that then, all right. Councillor Santos, you willing to move this report?
Sure, I'll move it.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to item number 11, contribution towards redevelopment of a former Hudson's Bay building located at 450 Portage. Councillor Duncan, can you move 180 days? I think they need another 180 on this one, okay?
Yes. Are we looking at, sorry, just for clarification from the clerk here, is it a 90-day to be granted report
Is it
back?
90?
They've requested 90.
They've requested 90?
The
Okay,
public
thank you.
service, yes.
90, I
90?
apologize.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll
Thank
move
you
the
for
public
clarifying.
service recommendation extension.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you. Really good news here on item number 12, Downtown Arts Capital Fund grants. I want to thank council for their investment in this capital grant envelope through one of our previous budgets. And so maybe Councillor Barwadi, you willing to move this item?
My absolute pleasure to move this report. Lots of, for a city our size, we certainly hit above our weight when it comes to our arts groups. During COVID, there were certainly lots of challenges with, the box office not being open. Capital needs still tend to pick up during those times, and they had some costs that maybe weren't fully recouped. So I'm very happy to move this motion to support this project.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Barwadi. And on that, I know in the last couple months, my wife and I have attended Giselle at the ballet, and that was really well attended. I know that the Winnipeg Symphony Orchestra had just put on a couple of nights of Star Wars. Those were both sold out. We attended Waitress at Royal MTC. That was a great event. They had so much demand, they had to add an extra performance. So it's good. It's good to see our arts groups doing well or doing better. These grants will assist them with some of the capital work that they need to do and want to do, so excited to support this. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 13, the Process Improvements Community Center Renovation Grant Program. Perhaps I'll turn it over at this time to you, Councillor Santos. I think they're looking for a 90-day extension.
Yes, they're looking for a 90-day extension. I will move the public service recommendation.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item 14 as well, encampment cleanup pilot. Councillor Santos.
I will move the public service recommendation. Just want to put a couple of notes on the record here. I really want to take the time to say thank you to the public administration for hearing me out last year with some of the challenges in the cleanups of encampments, specifically large amounts of debris going into our waterways, and wanted to be good stewards of the land. I thought it was very important to do some kind of mitigation during the summer months. And we've heard back from residences as well that they were obviously lots of debris. So thanks to my council colleagues, at that time we were EPC members. I wasn't on EPC. I came out in delegation, and we were able to find a mindful way of cleaning up encampments on a weekly basis. And we have a report here for us saying that some of it was successful, some of it wasn't. There were some challenges, and I can totally appreciate that. But this report comes at a really important time. Just recently, last week, we had an announcement from the province, together with you, Mr. Mayor, on how to deal with encampments moving forward. And I'm really, really excited to see that. As a councillor that represents one of the largest encampments, I'm excited that we're seeing some significant headway in this. So while I'd like to obviously continue on with this mindful cleanup, I think the plan that we're seeing, this Manitoba Made plan, can kind of encompass in some of the things that lessons learned from this pilot project moving forward. And so I'm happy to move this as recommended, and looking forward to continue on with the partnership with the province in dealing with encampments that are plaguing our city. So when I see Chris, I really appreciate the work that you've done on this file. It's not easy. I know there's bumps and bruises that are going to occur, but I think forging ahead and doing some significant work and getting the housing is super important, and we're doing that. So I'll just keep it to that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Santos. Yeah, very well said. Couldn't said it better myself. I think now that we have this provincial plan, the province has rolled out the plan, and we as a city play a key role in the implementation of that plan. Our departments under our CAO and with Mr. Chris Brenz and team will be actively involved in working out this plan. And part of that will be ultimately encampment cleanup, one encampment at a time. So that doesn't mean that in the intervening time, if an encampment is not ready to be kind of decamped and people move into housing, if a cleanup has to happen at an encampment that is still existing for a bit, that can still happen.
Yes.
As per phone call, and our staff will continue to respond to that. So,
And correct, I feel assured that that's continuing,
Yeah.
that program is still going to continue on. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, all those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you. I'm going to turn the chair over to Councillor Lukes. I'd like to introduce item 15.
Okay. Okay, item number 15, Chief Construction Officer.
Thank you very much. Yes, the Chief Construction Officer is a goal that certainly I had in the campaign, but beyond that, it's really a council initiative, and this is an individual that all of council, can rely upon, and I want to say thank you so much to the committee that's been involved in basically the selection of, the recruitment of, and the selection of a Chief Construction Officer, and led by Councillor Brian Mays. I want to thank him for his leadership on this initiative. The search committee included Councillor Mays, Councillor Jason Schreier, Councillor Sean Dobson, our acting CAO, Mr. Sherwood Armbruster, and Brian Kelsey from my staff. They spent several weeks and months together, I think, looking at up to 44 applications, I think it was. So there was a lot of interest in this position, and this really is a council recruitment, and I want to thank everyone who's been involved in this. I have a motion today based on the outcome of this search, and I'll just read the resolution. Therefore, be it resolved that Thomas Sparrow of Victoria, BC be appointed to the position of Chief Construction Officer for the City of Winnipeg, effective no later than April 1st of 2025. And number 2, that the city enter into, execute, and deliver an employment agreement with Mr. Sparrow, and that such other agreements as determined necessary by the city solicitor or director of legal services to implement the intent of the foregoing, on the understanding that any such agreement will confirm that Mr. Sparrow will report operationally to City Council. I think that's a key point. This individual will report operationally, as it says, to City Council and be really an asset directly for Council to rely upon. Number 3, that authority be delegated to the Chief Administrative Officer to negotiate and approve the terms and conditions of the employment agreement and the ancillary agreements in accordance with this report and such other terms and conditions deemed necessary by the city solicitor, the director of legal services to protect the interests of the city, and that 4, the proper officers of the city be instructed to do all things necessary to implement the foregoing. I think the timing of this, the hiring of Mr. Sparrow couldn't be better. There are so many files that need ongoing attention. I want to commend our staff for the attention that they give to the work and to our capital files. But Mr. Sparrow's, the timing of his, coming on board with this really is excellent, especially in light of, I think, the audit that we're going to deal with really shortly here for the North End Water Pollution Control Center. That does indicate our staff is doing what they're supposed to do, but more is needed, just because the scale, the size, the complexity, the budget value of this project, the NUPIC project, we need something other. And so I think certainly that will be one of the first roles and first files that we expect Mr. Sparrow to tackle. So that is a motion to nominate Tom Sparrow to fill the role of Winnipeg's first ever Chief Construction Officer.
Sure, and just to reiterate your comments, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is very exciting. We have, I just was looking in the Finance Committee and I can't find the exact number, but I think we've got upwards of 10 to 15 projects over $30 million, capital projects, that are on the go. And to bring this level of expertise in to help the city to ensure the tax dollars are being spent appropriately and to work in partnership with our staff, I think is, great to bring that level of expertise. I really have no idea how you convinced him to come from Victoria to Winnipeg, but we won't worry about that. He's signed, he's coming, so that's great. So with that, all in favor of the mayor's motion and the report?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, carried.
Thank you very much. Item number 16, Multifamily Sustainable Housing Infrastructure Program. Councillor Brody.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried. I think we can take items 17 through 20. Councillor Lukes, would you be willing to move those?
Yeah, there's some great projects in here. I'd like to move items 17 through to 20.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Councillor Duncan, do you mind moving layover? I think someone requested a layover of item 21.
Were we looking for?
I think 30 days to the next EPC.
Okay,
rep?
over to
Yeah.
the next meeting of EPC.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Audit Committee, North End Sewage Treatment Plant Upgrade Projects Audit Report. We just spoke briefly to that, and maybe I'll turn it over to Councillor Duncan specifically on this one at this time, please.
Yeah, thank you. Would it be okay if we potentially had the public service?
Of course.
Give a little bit of an overview, and
Yeah.
I see.
Auditor and Mr. Shanks are here.
Directors and auditor here. Yes, of course. It's here. I have it. I think it's.
Questions at this time? I think Councillor Duncan, maybe you'd like to have the folks just kind of highlight the
Yeah.
highlights of the audit. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
if that's okay, Mr. Mayor, an overview and some highlights, and I know that, first off, I think acknowledging that the work that has been done in the first project with the Headworks building, the good work that was and continues to be done by the public service on that project. I think that this audit shows that, but I'll leave it to our auditor and our two directors to touch on some of the points from the audit.
Okay, thank you very much. Just to let you know, KPMG is also on, they should be, I believe they're attached, so whenever you need a question. So I've got the KPMG team who conducted the audit. There's Ross Humanock, Zach Parston, and Nora Brittany. They're available for questions specifically to the audit findings, and Tim Shanks and Jeff Patton, sorry, are here to answer your questions about what the implementation on that is. So highlight, number one, like to thank KPMG for their excellent work. Like to thank Tim and Jeff and their teams for their cooperation during the audit. Without their cooperation, the audits don't happen. I'd like to thank my team for their work in managing this project through their high level. The key takeaways from this is that we found is that there's a dedicated project team. They're following established policies and procedures. That additional resources are needed to support the delivery of this project. The current practices and policies are not fit for purpose for a project of this size and scope, and that's a requirement of it. And to be able to effectively manage the risks that are associated with that. And specifically, we need to enhance the governance and oversight and the reporting and risk management. But overall, as Mayor has said and you have said, they are following established processes and procedures, and we just need a little bit of a different model to address projects of this size and scope. So if there's any specific questions on any recommendations, open that up.
Any questions specifically?
Well, not really questions. I'm really glad to see that the audit is highlighting extra support, and that the department is really on board with the recommendations and agrees with the recommendations, and that that we're proactive on this, right? Like this is a massive multi-conglomerate of projects, and that you're supportive of the guidance and help that you'll be getting. I'm really happy about that. So yeah, so I'm not really, no questions, just.
Yeah, I'd echo that. Councillor Lukes, I think what this audit did reveal, and this is why we do audits, what the audit revealed is that our staff are doing what they're supposed to do and doing it well. It's just that we know we need our staff and anyone involved in this project to be successful, so that ratepayers are protected to the degree possible. The project is delivered. The complex, expensive project is delivered in such a way that it's on time, and the degree to which we can keep it certainly within budgeted amounts is critical as well. And so to do that, requires, partnership and assistance with those maybe who've done something like this before. And so that's what this is about. Any staff that, or any supplementary resources that are brought, whether it's people or consultants or whatever, is all in an effort to make sure that we deliver this project with excellence for the people of our city. And I don't know, I can't remember who it was, but a couple times it's been pointed out that the value of this project, and certainly Councillor Duncan echoed this, that the value of this one project is equal to, our annual city budget, capital and operating, right? And so we've got a lot of people, whether it's, financial team that were here a moment ago, departmental controllers, departmental leads, all of which, a whole army of people that work on our budget on an annual basis, right? So we have to understand we have to have the right kind of mini army of people working on this multi-year capital project. And so looking forward to, supporting our team with the resources, people, and expertise that is required for us to be as successful as possible on this. So, Councillor Duncan, any other comments on this at this point, or any other questions of our staff, or anything else? I'll just open up if there's the staff want to say anything else related to this audit at all.
Just in support of the comments, we absolutely support the findings, and to the points being made here, committed to this. Really, it's continuous improvement. We actually, one of the recommendations, one of the actions as part of our plan is to commit to further audits, actually, as the progress goes on, to help make sure that we're doing everything possible to manage risk and deliver the project successfully.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Councillor Duncan, I think there's a motion on this.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce an amending motion for the Audit Committee's report on item number 1. Not sure how we want to go about doing this, of reading the thing in its entirety into the record, or if you just would prefer, the committee would just prefer that I outline some
Key points.
Maybe outline the
All right.
highlights of this.
So, as identified by the public service and the auditor there through KPMG's audit, that governance is the number one priority. I would like to submit an amending motion that identifies KPMG be the Chief Administrative Officer authorized to enter into a single source negotiation with KPMG to support and provide guidance to Water Waste Department and Asset and Project Management Department. And this is the important part, to implement a fit-for-purpose governance model that streamlines oversight and supports effective alignment, accountability, and autonomy and disclosure on the NUPIC upgrade projects. The timeline on that to be implemented by the end of the second quarter of 2025, because it is of the utmost importance moving forward here, upwards of $2 billion of capital investment coming here to the North End Treatment Plant. And also that we're already assigning duties here, that the newly appointed Chief Construction Officer, I want to highlight the word assist with audit implementation, not lead audit implementations there. But those are the highlights that I'm looking for here. Essentially, provide the public service with the support needed to implement the governance to ensure that ratepayers' dollars are being spent wisely and efficiently, and that everybody involved in this project, from elected officials to public servants, are accountable.
Okay, that is the motion. Any other comments or questions? If there's any other tweaking or details related that are necessary, we can make changes as necessary to this motion between now and council. Okay. If there's anything else that we catch that we want to tighten up or strengthen up related to this motion, I think we can proceed now at this point. But, we'll review it before it hits council to see if any changes need to be made, okay? Sure. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, it is 12 o'clock, but I think we can carry on with our agenda if everyone's okay with that. If you're your stomach's not growling too intensely. Moving on then to Public Works, Standing Policy Committee on Public Works for January 9th, 2025. Councillor Lukes.
So there's 4 items on the agenda. All of them are, I think, very exciting. I would like to pull item 2 and item 4.
Okay, calling the question on items 1 and 3. All in favor, aye.
Great.
Opposed, carried. Item number 2, Councillor Lukes,
Okay.
vehicle for hire.
Yeah, so this is our second annual update on the vehicles for hire that we've taken over from the province. And I just, we had a great discussion at committee, and one of the things that I just wanted to highlight, you can go through the report, read the report, and see how we are seeing a significant increase in the vehicles for hire. And I think that's very positive. I think that what is it attributed to exactly? That we are not 100% sure. I think we've got, we've got a lot of new Canadians coming that may not have a vehicle right off the bat. I think that we're having very, very good, stringent policing of impaired driving that is contributing to it. And I think a lot of people are trip chaining, taking a cab or taking a vehicle for hire somewhere, and maybe taking a bus or getting picked up. So one thing that I found really interesting in the entire report, which is basically why I pulled it, was that on average, a day, and I just lost it here, on average, a day, we average 23,000 trips. People are taking vehicles for hire. And I don't know, that really surprised me. So I think that's very positive. So that's basically all I wanted to highlight in the report, and that's it.
Thank you.
So I bring it forward for passing.
All those in favor then on this item?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Item number 4.
Okay.
Trainfo.
Yeah, and item number 4, again, I wanted to highlight this because this is an incredible success story for a local Manitoba business that started here and is based out of Winnipeg, and who is recognized across Canada, and probably even more importantly, is recognized by the rail lines for their technology that they're using to detect when trains are coming, and then to be able to notify first responders. Eventually, we'll be able to have digital reader boards saying how long when a train is coming, how long it is and such. So this is, again, we had a great Public Works meeting. We had a lot of great things on the go. So just wanted to highlight this, that it's a local-based company, and the funding that the federal government is providing to allow us to activate and implement this system throughout the city at major crossing points of rail lines. So with that, I'll move item number 4.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is the January 10th, 2025 Standing Policy Committee on Community Services. Councillor Santos.
Yes, so I will move items 1, 2, and 3, but I don't know if anybody wants to put any comments in the record to item number 2. I don't mind doing that one. That one's a pretty good one to talk about. Okay, so I'll move 1 and 3.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Someone want to speak to item number 2?
Do you want me to introduce it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, so item number 2 is a user agreement between SimNation, Natation Manitoba Inc. Also wanted to give a little bit kudos to my councillor colleague, Councillor Duncan, who chaired, and I was sitting on it, and we had some good discussions and moved some amendments on how we can deal with the new terms and conditions for the user agreement in favor of Swim Manitoba. It's been a long time coming, but this is great. It is a 20-year lease of the Pan Am training tank at the Pan Am pools. So they'll have some exclusive use to the training tank only. And I think what's really good and unique with this particular agreement is there's a bit of a clause there that when there are revenues generated from Swim Manitoba, there will be a set aside, and they'll put that away in kind of a separate account so that there's any upgrades to the training tank or any capital costs to the training tank, that monies can be used for any upgrades. So that is something new, and I think that's something we can really be supportive of, and I hope my councillor colleagues will be. But that's kind of where we're at right now, and yeah.
That is good news. Thank you very much, Councillor Santos. Any other comments on that?
I just, yeah, I mean, I think this is great. This is great that we've got this lease. We're winning, divers are winning awards, national awards, competing internationally. I think that's fantastic. The question I had was to the public service. And I guess at some point, the Pan Am pool, within the next 20 years, like maybe even with the next 5 years, is going to shut down for a long period in time to have major renovations and such. So what happens with these leases when that happens? And I'm sorry I didn't give you a question ahead of time, but I'm just curious, because I know it's on the horizon, right? And when we have a 20-year lease, well, I guess if it shuts down, it shuts down, right? There's nowhere to go. Unless another pool is built, and if there is somewhere to go, I didn't see it in the lease, how that carries over to another pool or anything, but, and maybe this is something it's not critical to today, but I could ask you off the record, so.
Yes, Councillor, through the mayor to you, I'm happy to follow up on that and discuss that offline. I can follow up with asset project management as well as the Youth Services Department on end-of-life discussions and considerations and how that process works.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Acting CAO.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
All right, all those in favor then of item 2? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. One other report, that is January 15th, 2025. It's the 2025 business plan.
Yes.
Animal Services Special Operating Agency. Councillor Santos.
Yes. So this is just a slight amendment to the responsible pet ownership review that was approved back in 2013. They're just streamlining the spay or neuter program and some other programs. So that's what they came forward. It's a typical 2025 business plan, and that's it. So I'll introduce it and approve it.
All those in favor? Aye? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We do have a motion here now. Do we need suspension of the rules for this motion? Yes. Okay. Move suspension of the rules, please, to hear a motion from Councillor Santos regarding the Winnipeg Rehabilitation Corp.
Yes.
All in favor of suspending the rules? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Santos, this is related to...
I'll read it out loud into the record. Whereas in accordance with bylaw number 1 of the Winnipeg Housing Rehabilitation Corporation, one city representative is supposed to be appointed from the city's finance or development area. And whereas there is a vacant position for the City of Winnipeg representative on the WHRC Board of Directors, therefore be it resolved that Richard Mahe be appointed as the city's representative for the Winnipeg Housing Rehab Corporation Board of Directors.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Santos. Councillor Lukes, would you please, we're looking at the report here, St. Paul's Community Property Development, dated January 13th. If you don't mind moving these items, please.
Okay, so we have a few items on here. I think that one item is wanting to be pulled, I think item number 15, but I'll move 1 to 14, and then I'll move 16 through to 17.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Item number 15, I think there's an amending motion to that item. I think that amendment is brought forward by Councillor Duncan, if I've got that right.
Yep.
Yes.
The motion's being distributed. Councillor Duncan, do you want to just kind of give us the highlights of this? Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. At Community Committee, myself, Councillor Lukes and Councillor Dobson had a robust discussion as a part of a public hearing here, and made the recommendation that Section 3, which spoke to a multi-use pathway being built on the north side of Sterling Lion, that the developer provide their share of the cost towards that. Discussion also included that there is an existing multi-use path on the south side of Sterling Lion from Kenniston to Wilkes. On the north side is unique for those that are trying to follow along here. The Seasons of Tuxedo development actually has a multi-use path that runs through their development and connects to Kenniston, so running east-west, and then comes out at the end of their property at the Co-op grocery store there, and will eventually connect into the multi-use path that then runs to Shaftesbury Boulevard that needs to be completed as well. So the community committee recommendation was that contribution not be made towards making a third path essentially, that then would be the responsibility in perpetuity for the City of Winnipeg and Public Works Streets Maintenance to look after. And as there is one existing within the Seasons development, that is solely the responsibility of that corporation. So with the will of the committee, I would like to revert back to the Assiniboia Community Committee recommendation as outlined here.
Okay.
And I'll just
Yeah,
add to
Councilor
that.
Lukes.
I just want to add to that. I'm very supportive of this, the south side of Sterling Lion Parkway has an incredible pathway that connects, I don't even know where it connects to, all the way to Waverly and beyond, yes, and beyond, and is highly used. The interior of the Seasons of Tuxedo is what I'd say is a stellar example of how a mall is developed with an outdoor mall is developed with interior access and connectivity. So I want to commend the crew that set forth to do that mall in that manner. I've used it as an example in multiple mall discussions. So all their network of pathways connects through to this big one on Sterling Lion Parkway. So super supportive of this. And that's all I wanted to add to the record.
Okay. All those in favor then, thank you for the motion. All those in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. Thank you. Moving on then to the Standing Policy Committee on Water Waste Environment dated January 14th, 2025. Councilor Duncan.
Yes, I would like to move the one item as recommended.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you. Moving on then to the addendum report of the Standing Policy Committee on Finance and Economic Development dated January 17th, 2025. Councilor Brody.
Thank you very much. I'd like to move the Standing Policy Committee recommendation.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. And we'll turn to the birthday boy again here. Consent agenda and
So
adjournment
moved.
motion. All right. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Thank you. Thank you to all. We are adjourned.